What is going on, fam? It's your girl, iyaKIN, back with a new YouTube video. What is going on, beautiful people? It's your girl, iyaKIN. If this is your first time to my channel, it's a pleasure to have you. I am the founder of Iya and the yoga educator behind Yoga by Biyala. Here you are going to learn all things non-performative yoga as a student and as a teacher. So if you are joining me as a yogi of color or a yoga instructor of color, you are in the right place. So go ahead and click that subscribe button and hit the bell so you're notified when I release a new video every single week. For my subscribers, I know your girl was on a lull, but I am back with our weekly videos. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Gotta have a drink of the Celsius, y'all. I love my Celsius. So non-performative yoga. I'm sure many of you have never heard that term before, which makes sense because it's something that I created. Non-performative yoga is ultimately the practice beyond the poses. It's the practice beyond just the fancy Instagram poses that you see all the time and that are perpetuated in Western yoga. Also, the way that performative yoga or commercial Western yoga is represented, it's really rooted in Eurocentric Western beauty standards that don't really showcase people of color, nor does it showcase our lived experience. So non-performative yoga offers a practice beyond the Western yoga standards that meets us where we are and offers yoga in a way that aligns with our values. With that being said, there are specific non-performative yoga practices that can really support folks of color and that really begin to move out of the physicality of the practice. And those are what I'm going to be sharing with you today. If you are a yoga student of color, these are the practices that could be very supportive for you in terms of honoring your lived experience and really helping you move out of perfectionism in your physical body, which is perpetuated in Western yoga. If you are a yoga instructor of color, these practices are practices that you want to start to fold in to inform your teaching to support your communities. So let's get into those practices now. The first practice is Yin Yoga, which does not have origins in the Hindu or Indian traditions like traditional yoga does. It actually originates from China, and it's rooted in Taoism. Now, the focus or goal of Yin Yoga is to deeply stretch the connective tissues, so getting into the ligaments, the muscles, and the bones through low to the ground postures that are held for long periods of time. The reason why this could be a really supportive practice for people of color is because Yin Yoga cultivates more yin energy. Yin energy is the lunar side of the body or the left side of the body, which could be acquainted to the female side if you are looking through a gender lens. Because Yin Yoga focuses on cultivating more yin energy, we are also cultivating more receptivity in order to combat the resistance that's in the body. And as folks of color, there's a lot of resistance in our bodies because we are hypervigilant all of the time in our external surroundings to protect ourselves. So cultivating a practice that allows us to specifically cultivate more receptive energy provides more support for us to drop into a receptive nature as opposed to constantly being in a hyper-vigilant state of resistance to protect ourselves. The next practice is energetic anatomy. Now, energetic anatomy deals with the energy body, and it's the study of the energy body through the chakras or the koshas or the kleshas. These terms might not make sense to you, but these are all yogic terms that identify specific parts of the body that are beyond the physical part of the body. And once once again, these are the parts of yoga that we don't see in Western yoga, because Western yoga is so damn performative. The reason why cultivating a practice of energetic anatomy can support people of color, because it helps us to build an understanding of the science of the energy body, so that we can understand the origins of our trauma, which are stored in the energy body. This can help us to begin to unlock some of that trauma, to begin to diffuse some of that trauma, because we have a greater understanding of how it's lodged in the energy body. The next practice we want to cultivate is a practice that I myself have created, and it's something that I focus on within Iya, which is my online platform offering non-performative yoga, and that is something called intuitive asana. Intuitive asana is one of the elements of non-performative yoga. Intuitive asana features an adaptable sequencing arc, and a sequence is basically the framework of what holds a yoga class together. And intuitive asana builds a very adaptable sequencing arc that allows people to transition from pose to pose in a way that feels safe for their bodies, specifically different bodies, so that folks are not having to abandon their body to get into a posture, which is very much the lens of Western yoga. Now, intuitive asana is incredibly important and supportive for people of color, because as I shared, Western yoga or performative yoga focuses a lot on the physical practice. So it's constantly pushing us to this place of trying to get into this perfect pose. It focuses more on what the practice looks like in very athletic bodies, as opposed to what it feels like in different bodies. The narrative that a lot of Black and brown folks and people of color are already having to move through is this need to keep up with their non-POC counterparts. So we're constantly already always pushing off of the mat. And we want to be able to cultivate a practice on the mat that allows us to contain our agency, so that we don't have to abandon that in order to fit into a posture. When practicing intuitive asana, we're really providing multiple pose variations for a single pose for different bodies, so that folks can move into a posture at various levels and options without feeling like they need to push to get somewhere, or without feeling like they need to push beyond their pain zone. Our next practice is restorative yoga, which I'm sure many of y'all have heard. The benefits for restorative yoga are phenomenal, and it's actually a more recent practice in the Western yoga world. It's only been around in the past few decades. But the reason why restorative yoga is so supportive and helpful for people of color is because it allows us to release mind-body tension, to temper and calm the nervous system. Once again, folks of color, our nervous system is overactive, or can be overactive, or we can find ourselves in states of hypervigilance, hyper-aware, hyper-cautious, because we're having to scan our surroundings all the time to really protect ourselves. And it doesn't matter if this is an internal battle or whatnot. What matters is that the systems around us make us feel like we need to be this way. And in order to begin to move out of that, we have to find practices that allow us to feel safe in our bodies, to release and temper and calm the nervous system, so that we can remove ourselves from that fight or flight response and begin to relax the tension in the physical body as well as in the mind. Our next non-performative yoga practice is meditation. And meditation is a long-standing practice that has been around for eons and eons. So meditation is such a phenomenal practice for people of color, because it allows us to use a very approachable tool to understand what's taking place within our mind and within our thoughts, so that we can begin to move out of those cyclical neurological patterns or thought patterns that we keep regurgitating and keep reciting, and do the opposite, so that we can begin to liberate our minds and not feel like a victim of our situations and our circumstances. Meditation is so powerful because it gives us the tools to begin to undo what is causing us pain. The next non-performative yoga practice that I want to share with y'all is Pranayama, which is also known as breath work. And the reason why Pranayama is so phenomenal in supporting people of color is because Pranayama helps us control our breath patterns in order to modify or change our moods and our neural responses. Who knew that breath was that powerful? This is super powerful for people of color who have historically not been given self-agency or autonomy in our bodies. These tools and practices allow us to begin to cultivate that in a way that feels supportive to who we are and allows us to feel victorious in our bodies. The last non-performative yoga practice I want to share with y'all is something called Yoga Nidra, which is actually a sleep meditation practice. Yoga Nidra is a really powerful meditation in that it scans the body and helps us become aware of what's lodged in the subconscious so that we can begin to change it. Once again, giving us power and agency within our own bodies. Now, all of these non-performative yoga practices are practices that we feature within my 200-hour yoga teacher training, iyaKIN. The reason why I created this 200-hour yoga teacher training is because I noticed that a lot of the older YTTs are really focused on Western yoga standards, and they also are geared towards older white women. They don't really take into consideration the multiracial, the multi-ethnic, or the multi-gender generations that are coming up in the yoga spaces now and that are also becoming instructors and beginning to lead the way when it comes to this practice. And it does not speak to the practice of yoga from the lens of people of color. A lot of these older YTTs are still regurgitating the same language that framed the Western yoga industry, which is completely rooted in Eurocentric values. And I really wanted to change this and cultivate a practice that informed our yoga practice based on our lived experience and provided the practices beyond the poses to really support and nurture our bodies and our communities. Right now, we are currently in the process of moving through our third cohort of the iyaKIN 200-hour yoga teacher training, and I'm excited to begin to prepare for the fourth cohort in March of 2023. If you are a yogi of color looking to become a yoga instructor and also looking for yoga that aligns with your values from seasoned, expert facilitators with over 3 decades of experience. I don't want to toot our horn, but we have phenomenal facilitators. I encourage you to click the link that I have below to hop on our YTT waitlist for winter 2023 to join our Bipoc-led non-performative yoga teacher training. Drop in the comments below, y'all, what non-performative yoga excuse me, y'all, you would like to practice more, to let us know where you're coming from, what you're wanting to explore more in your physical and invisible body. Continue to be well, y'all, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.